they did not have a chaplain. They were the RCC command unit, and any of their caveats or things they couldn't do, or any of their vacancies, we filled that role. So since they did not have a chaplain, I was the RCC chaplain. So when their helicopter crashed, Turkish medical team, French medical team, U.S. Army Mortuary Affairs, NCO, U.S. Army chaplain was the ID team. We identified 3 of the 12. And it was a memorable experience. But one also that showed that, brought home to me how that regardless of our nationality, our cultural and religious backgrounds, grief is the same. Because the only reason we were able to identify one of those Turkish soldiers was because the chief Turkish medical officer had been a personal friend of his. And she wanted to talk to me afterwards. She said, "You're the religious officer, right?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I need to talk." One of my other experiences, I mentioned the love for MDMP was 648. We got involved in the planning. Sergeant Eichelberger, my assistant there, and I got involved in the planning process there. And he was part of the plans team, and I was part of the planning going before we left. And that was a great experience that helped us to grow. I think helped in the overall process. I know Colonel Hall, Andy Hall, was a great commander in terms of understanding how a chaplain can be used. As a confidant, as a member of his planning team, and seeing what's going to happen culturally and morally and ethically, that will shape what's going to happen with this unit. We came back from the deployment. You know what it's like when you come back from deployment. Those of you who have deployed, you're a little unsure what's coming up next. And I was one of those who came back without a civilian job. So, but Maurice and I decided that rather than rent a house in Columbus, Georgia, we would move to Memphis, Tennessee, where we owned a house. Since I've been the senior Army chaplain since 2000, about the end of 2010, but in Georgia. But Chaplain Harris Lampton, thank you for being here, Liz, was doing a great job as the state chaplain. Where I was sitting, and I thought, well, I can be senior Army chaplain from Memphis, Tennessee, and come in. So I did. We moved, and 6 months later, I got a phone call asking me to be the state chaplain. And from Colonel Blackstock again. And I said, I thanked him after I understood what was happening. And then with great transition assistance from Chaplain Harris Lampton and from Chaplain Davis as the full-time support chaplain, we made that step forward. And I had some goals, and real briefly. One was to instill in our chaplains a sense of themselves as religious leaders, that things like communion are important to soldiers, that needs to be a part of our worship, that when they get together, there should always be a service with at least 2 people present at every training assembly. Because if no one else can make it because of the demands, at least the chaplain and the religious affairs specialist ought to be there. And but also that they are a member of the staff, that they need to know what it means to be a staff officer, to know the protocols and the procedures, to understand the planning process, be able to, when they walk into the talk, be able to read the maps, and to read the fragos so that you know what's happening next. I had a vision for our chaplains to get broadening experiences like I had. Chaplain always had taken care of me in terms of encouraging me to go on to Operation Jump Start, to go to Fort Stewart. So I look for opportunities and help our chaplains look for opportunities. Like Chaplain Grant getting to go to Fort Huachuca. Chaplain Shepard to Fort Benning where he is now. And Chaplain Pierce with the Ranger Regiment now. Learning and Chaplain Douglas at the National Guard Bureau. So we've done some things to try to improve our process. And what has really helped us achieve another goal, which was to fill all of our spots, which we did for a while. So it was about the first time it had happened, was because there had been a lot of recruiting and we had a bunch of chaplain candidates who became chaplains and they filled those slots, and you all have done a great job as you transition into becoming chaplains. But you were only able to do a great job, as I was only able to do a good job and a great job at times in my career, because you had dedicated and qualified and inspiring enlisted chaplain assistants or religious affairs specialists, making sure you looked as good as you could possibly look. Some of them had to work harder than others, especially the ones that worked with me. But with people like Matt, wasn't for people like Matt Boyd and Tony McDonald and Anthony Yoder, Randy Eichelberger, and of course, Roy Smith in the net. Nice to be pouring out. Have to get rest up before I say the name. I couldn't have been the chaplain I ended up being. And I thank you. I want to recognize a couple other people before I conclude here. My first memory is waking up one morning. I was almost 3 years old, toddling across the room, and looking in the crib of my baby brother, Mark, who's here with us today. And Mark and I have shared a lot of experiences. I'm a little quiet, Mark is not. But it's but I tell you, Mark, I was the student Mark wanted to be in high school. He later caught on in college and graduate school. But and he was the athlete I always wanted to be. I'm not going to say much more about him in terms of that, but his first game as a starter on the varsity in football at fullback, he ran for 108 yards on 8 carries for 3 touchdowns. And yeah, I remember. The first carry he got stuck solid at the line. Second carry was 40 yards up the middle untouched. So it was vivid memories there for me. Proud older brother. I could cheer for him as loudly from the bench as I could, from the stands as I could from the bench. Made that decision too. But glad he's here. My cousin Melanie, as she always reminds me, my favorite cousin Melanie, as she is. We've been through thick and thin together. And one of the people for whom I'm most thankful for my being able to be your state chaplain, especially the last 2 years, is Marion Green. Mary, would you stand up, please? Marion is one of the elders for the church where I preach in Leavenworth, Kansas. And besides being an elder, a great friend, he's also a retired major for the Kansas Army National Guard. And as many of you know, if it wasn't for our employers, we couldn't do this. We couldn't come to drill, especially when you're several states away. So I just want to say thank you. Let's give them a hand. But that's, I want to thank you. I think we have a few more credits. When we were rehearsing, he was reading the script. And he said, "Now, Chaplain Sirs, we have a few remarks." I said, "Strike the few." Also want to recognize one other person, Alfred Donald from Atlanta Intercity Ministries and Lakewood Church of Christ. Alfred and I went to college together. And we both, our college, when we started, the freshmen had two main choruses. He was in one, I was in the other. But they were both good groups. But he occasionally shares videos of my group on Facebook, so I appreciate that. But thank you and Carolyn for being here as well.
Sir, if you would remain standing.
Let's give him a round of applause.